I'm Phil Jeffs. I'm the chairman of the North Staffs and Cheshire Traction Engine Club. This is our club ground, which we've had for about 40 to 45 years. It's called Klondyke Mill, and we're based at Draycott in the Clay. We have 3 or 4 events a year, fundraising events for the club, and this is the October rally. As you can see, it's a collection of steam engines, vintage vehicles, tractors, and anything else that's interesting.
Hello there, my name's Steve Arrowsmith. I'm a committee member on the North Staffs and Cheshire Traction Engine Club, and this is our site, Klondyke Mill. It was an old gypsum mill from the mines and the hills in the background, and we now use it as a base to operate and restore traction engines and other items of interesting vintage machinery. We've been here over 30 years now. There's about 12 full-size engines on site, probably 8 or 10 of those fully operating, go around to traction engine rallies all around the countryside, and there's others that are in various degrees of restoration and bits and pieces all over the place, and we'll take you around in a minute and show you what we've got. The engine in the background, the big green Steamroller, is Lady Hamilton. This one's actually owned by the club. It's operated and restored by the members here. She's one that fully operational, goes everywhere under its own steam. It's been restored here on site. As I said, it's owned by the club. It's a lovely old engine. It's a big one. It's a 12 tonner, probably weighs more like 15 tons, but she's still fully capable of doing a day's work. The engine behind me is what we call a ploughing engine. It was built by Fowler of Leeds during the First World War. The Ministry of Production or Agriculture decided that we needed more agricultural capacity, more land ploughed, and they ordered 50 of these engines, and 50 pairs of these engines, and sold them under favourable terms to the English farmers. The big significant thing about this engine, under the boiler there's a big Winstram, and the way the engines work, you have 2 of these, one either side of the field, and pull a plough or a cultivator backwards and forwards and cultivate the land that way. The engine we're looking at now is a little portable engine. It's a Ruston. It's not self-moving. It has to be towed around by a team of horses or another traction engine. Made it a lot cheaper than the big self-moving engines, and for work of a temporary nature, say working in a quarry or driving a sawmill in the forest where it might be in one place for several weeks or several months at a time, it was a much cheaper option than the big self-moving engines. They'd be used to drive a saw bench or a thrashing drum or a stone crusher, something like that. There's quite a lot of them in production. There were thousands of them, still quite a few of them left. But the big thing about this one is the paintwork's still the original. It's not been repainted. This is as it was found working. Mechanically and boiler-wise, it's all been beautifully restored, but it's in typical sort of workaday appearance from the 1920s. This is a Sentinel steam lorry. These were built in the 1920s or early 30s. This is the last model they made. I think this one's about 1931, something like that. It has a vertical boiler inside the cab and an underfloor engine, very similar to a diesel engine, but it's all driven and operated by steam. And they're amazing machines for their day. They'll still do get on for 50 miles an hour. You can drive down the A50 and keep with all the modern lorries. You find the lorry drivers absolutely fascinated when they realise what it is. And it's quite complicated for a steam engine, but it was the sort of ultimate development in this country of the steam road vehicle. Right, the 2 steamrollers behind me, built by Wallace and Stevens, and again they're very late engines, probably late 20s or early 30s. They were built when the new asphalt roads had first come out, and they're quick reverse engines. When they stop, there's no dwell, they can go straight into reverse, so they don't leave a dent or an uneven surface on the road. So they're cheaply made. I don't mean they're rough and crude, but they were a fair bit of thought went into the design of them so they could be produced cheaply, so very economical things for the contractors to buy. And they're one of the last steamrollers in regular production in this country. Quite nippy little things, they'll bat along the road quite quickly and very easy to drive. So again, with the semi-skilled labour they often had available in the 1940s, they were a very effective machine. But the drivers who've got these 2 and know what they're doing do a very professional job with the pair of them. Behind me we've got a Marshal Traction engine. This one's very typical of the appearance of engines when rallies first started out. The engines were often discovered in a scrapyard or a farmyard, cleaned up a bit and rallied in that condition. This one's had some considerable boiler work done, so she's safe and sound. The owners have got another engine which they're restoring, and they're playing with this one in the meantime, and when the second one's done they'll get round to restoring this one. But it's very typical of a workaday traction engine. I think if you were a farmer and you ordered the thrashing contractor in and they turned up with something like this, you wouldn't turn your nose up. You'd be quite pleased about the appearance of it and the way she gets stuck in and do a day's work. This is the other type of steam lorry. We mentioned that the Sentinel we saw earlier had the engine underneath. That's called an Undertime. This is an overtime. The engine's on top of the boiler. It's very much like a small traction engine. You can see we've got the boiler here. The works are all inside under the bonnet, under the bodywork. This one was used mainly for haulage in London. It was in the coal trade, taking coal from the docks, and I think to a big hospital. She towed a big trailer behind herself. Again, they're very fast, much faster than the traction engine, probably 30-35 miles an hour. And they worked again quite late. They're a very handy little bit of kit. And it's a Foden who built the diesel lorries, and I think they're in production until quite recently. It's the same firm, they kept going, and they went very early into diesel engine production, but they were sort of at the forefront of technology. So these were state of the art when steam ruled the roost, and then quickly they went on to the diesel machines. This isn't a scrapyard, it's a pile of bits of engines which are in the process of restoration at the moment. Some of the bits in the foreground are off another steam lorry. The boiler's away at the Boilermakers, being completely refurbished at the moment. There's parts of a dismantled Aveling and Porter Steamroller on the one side, and the boiler on the trolley there, that's another engine that's owned by the club. It's a Burrell traction engine, not quite as big as the big Marshal we looked at, but that's owned by the club. It needs complete restoration. Everything on it is completely worn out, so in some ways it's the easiest project out. There's no questions about what gets left to another date. It's all got to be done before it goes back together. The boiler's booked in at a Boilermakers in spring next year, so we should get it back in the autumn, and then we can start thinking about the mechanical side of things. That's as I say, it's owned by the club itself. For my sins, I'm the project manager, I'm looking after this one. And when it's restored, it'll be a very nice little traction engine. There's no reason why we can't have it exactly as it was when it was brand new. We've got all the specifications and the build sheets. They're very well documented engines. There's lots of records left. So hopefully we'll get it exactly as the day it was when it left the works in 1903. Now this one's easy. This one's my engine. I've owned it for about 25 years. Been completely rebuilt, literally down to the last nut and bolt and the last rivet. It's a brand new boiler, brand new transmission. We've done a stack of work on the motion, all the bearings, and if I say so myself, it runs very nicely now. Possibly saw my son driving it around a bit earlier on. It runs very nicely, very quietly. Desperately needs repainting. You can tell the paintwork's not up to the standard of a lot of the others, but she still works, and we have a great deal of fun driving it all over the countryside to a wide variety of rallies and events. This is a Fowler Road locomotive. It's a bit different to the other traction engines we've looked at. They were generally agricultural engines used for going around the farms, driving threshing machines or saw benches, things like that. This one's quite capable of doing that sort of job, but more particularly it was built for heavy haulage. It has much larger bearings, it's much more powerful, it has springs, a third speed. Normally traction engines are 2-speed. This has got 3 speeds, so it's quite fast for a traction engine. As I say, it's used for continuous haulage, so it will stand any amount of really hard work without upsetting itself, without running anything hot or getting into any bother for steam or anything like that. And there is a lot of these used in industrial areas for moving big boilers about, although this one worked on the Welsh borders, doing a lot of timber work, pulling trees down and taking them up to sawmills and things like that. This is a steamroller built for rolling the roads, as the name suggests. Quite a late one, 1931, but the difference with this, as you can probably see behind me, there's a big tank under the boiler, and originally that contained tar, and there was a spray barb on the back of the engine, and it could spray the tar on the road as it went. When they were originally built, it had a trailer behind it full of grit. It was a complete road baking machine to spray the tar on the road, deposit the grit on the road, then run back and roll the grit into the tar and leave you with a nice smooth country lane. The roller we're going to have a look at now is still owned by Staffordshire County Council. It's a Greens steamroller. It's been fully restored here by the club members. It's in here for a bit of attention to the motion. When we have a look at the engine in detail, you see a lot of the bits have dismantled. There's a crankshaft on the floor over on the side of me, and the works from the top of it are all missing. We're having a go at sorting out why it's not running perhaps quite as nice as we'd like it to. This is a Crosley oil engine. It was used at the very early days of the start of the change from steam to diesel engines or electric motors. I think this drove a small mill up near Leek, but typical of the engines you find in lots of small factories, small industrial units, used for a variety of purposes. Anything that needs rotating motion, these things would do the job nicely. At the moment it's connected to a dynamo to generate a bit of electricity for the lights around the engine. And again, it's owned by the club, it's been restored by club members. As you can see, it's fully operational and working very nicely. Right, the McLaren Traction engine that I own here, it's one of the oldest ones left in the country. I think there's roughly 12 older ones, only 6 of them work, and she was built or sold in August 1882. So it's 130 years old and still doing what it was meant to when it was built back in those days. I hope you've enjoyed the tour around Klondyke Mill. We're open most weekends. If the gates are open, there'll be somebody here. You're more than welcome to come and have a look, and we'll show you around and show you what we've got and what we're doing. We have 2 of these steam events every year, one in October and one in June. There's a sign advertising when they're on outside the gates, and in a couple of weeks' time we've got a bonfire party, which is a spectacular event, magnificent fireworks, steam engines, barbecues, all the business for a thoroughly good evening on a bonfire night. But as we say, we've hoped you've enjoyed the trip round, got a little idea of what we get up to. And if you'd like to come and visit us again, please do. We'd be more than welcome to see you.